We begin this morning with reports of a massive wildfire burning through the Pacific Palisades neighborhood in western Los Angeles near the Pacific Ocean. Tens of thousands of residents forced to leave their homes, stuck in massive traffic jams, escaping a fire whipped up by the notorious Santa Ana winds with speeds as high as 100 miles per hour. These are the fastest winds ever recorded in Southern California. Eric Scott of the Los Angeles Fire Department saying a female firefighter sustained a serious head injury. Multiple reports of burn victims needing assistance. 200,000 Los Angeles residents are without power this morning. Winds are said to be picking up, fanning the flames, and this thing is far from under control. The fire was reported at 10 a.m. Pacific time Tuesday morning. It is now early Wednesday morning. The fire spread to 3,000 densely populated areas with about 10,000 homes under threat. There are also fires in the immediate vicinity. California Governor Gavin Newsom declaring a state of emergency, and there are reports that Kamala Harris's Los Angeles home is in the evacuation zone. I have a lot of family and friends in that area. I'm thinking about you. This is climate change. This is climate catastrophe. These are the oil companies. These are the fossil fuels. Some good news. It happened on Monday. Rudy Giuliani held in contempt of court by the judge in that defamation lawsuit where Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, has been ordered to pay $150 million to those two Georgia election workers after he purposely and maliciously defamed them, lied, and said they were stuffing ballots for Joe Biden. He's now being held in contempt of court, which means jail is next. So there is some good news this morning. On today's show, Donald Trump wants to change it to the Gulf of America, right? The world is on fire. He's being paid by the oil companies to distract. Call it Gulf Oil of Mexico. Instead of the Gulf of Mexico, call it the Gulf Oil of Mexico because Gulf owns it. Trump also threatened to invade Panama and steal Greenland. How about Greenland buys Trump from Putin? Why don't we try that? Do we take the bait with what's going on? I say no. We focus on the billionaires. All of this, Trump's press conference today is all about, hey, look over there so we don't look over there, where Trump is lowering taxes for billionaires and paying for it by strip mining our Social Security net. We should be talking about why Greenland looks so attractive. It's because of climate catastrophe. We should be talking about putting the health insurance companies out of business. We should be talking about low-income housing, free insulin, free daycare, free tuition at all public universities, protecting the dreamers, protecting the migrants, protecting the LGBTQ community. More on all this later in the show. According to prosecutors, disgraced Republican Congressman George Santos, who pled guilty to stealing campaign donations and is now looking at possibly 6 years in prison, George Santos, according to prosecutors, made $400,000 last year on Cameo. Besides looking at prison, Santos also has to pay back the people he stole money from. Santos this week told the judge money is kind of tight. I can't make restitutions, but prosecutors saying he made nearly $500,000 recording messages on Cameo. I got to get famous or infamous. Doesn't matter. I'll take fame, infamy. $500,000 to wish some rich prick a happy 40th. I mean, it's not like I'm not already debasing myself doing this show. I might as well get on Cameo. We are now 12 days away from Donald Trump resoiling the Oval Office. He's already trying to control the news cycle Pay attention to the billionaires and his enablers. In the next 2 years, until Democrats regain Congress, you have to focus on what's real, like the fires this morning in Los Angeles, tax cuts for the rich, the undocumented, ICE, income inequality, reproductive rights. Remember what's important. Don't fall into Trump's vortex of chaos. It's hiring season in Washington, D.C. Fox News host Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearings for Secretary of Defense begin on the 14th of this month. This is important. As Senator Elizabeth Warren points out, the defense secretary oversees a budget of nearly $1 trillion that can't be audited. They've tried to audit it for the past 7 years. 7 years in a row, they can't tell us where that money goes. Defense Secretary also has about 3.5 million people working directly underneath him. Later on in the program, well, I'm not. We're out of time. I'm not going to get to this. Later in the week, I'm going to show you how Trump's acting defense secretary avoided a bloodbath on January 6, 4 years ago, by ignoring Trump's request for 10,000 National Guard soldiers to stand outside the Capitol. This is a story not being told. I don't have time to get to it this morning, later in the week. But suffice to say that Pete Hegseth is different. He's a Trump loyalist. It's going to be different this time if we allow it. One of the reasons we dodged a bullet during the first Trump administration is so many cabinet officials ignored his orders. Will it be different this time? Elizabeth Warren sits on the Senate Armed Services Committee, which will be holding the Hegseth hearings. Now, this is important. On Monday, Warren wrote a letter to Hegseth saying she has serious reservations about his qualifications to serve as defense secretary. She cited the cloud over his financial mismanagement of 2 nonprofit veterans organizations, as well as sexual assault allegations, and what she called a history of blatant disregard for female soldiers, multiple reports of alcoholism. He's publicly endorsed torture. He opposes diversity. And as I've mentioned on this show, he has repeatedly said on Fox News that our wounded veterans shouldn't be receiving benefits from the VA. In the letter, Senator Warren gave us a preview of what she will be asking Pete Hegseth next week. We can expect questions like, do you believe LGBTQ plus service members should be allowed to openly serve in our military? I'd like to hear him answer that one under oath. Do you support renaming military bases after Confederate generals? They took the names of the Confederate generals off these military bases, and Hegseth and Trump have been promising to put those names back on. Where do you stand on this, Pete Hegseth? Do you want to bring back Fort Bragg? You want these Confederate generals to be honored again? Do you believe service members should associate with white supremacist or extremist groups such as the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers? And do you mind taking off your shirt so we can see that tattoo? Do you still believe, Pete Hegseth, that January 6 was a false flag operation? This is what you have said repeatedly. Now, Senate Majority Leader John Thune has reportedly told Trump Hegseth has the votes. But he's going to answer these questions. He's going to be under oath. It's going to be televised, and he's going to have to tell people like Elizabeth Warren the truth, what he really believes. And he's not going to be able to tell the truth without pissing off either MAGA or the vast majority of Pentagon employees. If he tries to tack towards the center, he will alienate the MAGA crowd the same way Elon Musk has alienated them on foreign work visas. On Tuesday, the House of Representatives passed its very first bill of the 119th Congress. It's called the Laken Riley Act, named after a 22-year-old nursing student killed early last year while jogging. In a bench trial, that means there was no jury, the judge found an undocumented Venezuelan man guilty of the murder. He is said to have entered this country illegally. The Laken Riley Act passed in the House with a 264 to 159 vote. It was 264 to 159. 48 Democrats voted in favor of this garbage. Punchbowl reports that 11 more Democrats voted for it this year than last year, when it passed in the Republican-controlled House last year, but died in the democratically controlled Senate. Well, this time, it heads to the Senate with Republican John Thune as majority leader, not Democrat Chuck Schumer as majority leader. John Thune says he's planning to bring a procedural vote to the floor on the Laken Riley bill Friday. A procedural vote establishes the rules on how the bill will be debated. It serves as a leading indicator of how many votes he's going to get in favor of this bill. Republicans do have a majority, but it's not a filibuster-proof majority. According to the latest Senate count, 8 Democrats need to be on board for the Laken Riley bill to pass. It's bad legislation. It will give ICE, which should be abolished, more power to detain and deport any undocumented American who commits a crime in this country. Well, it's already illegal for undocumented Americans to commit crimes. We don't need more laws, okay? And this is where the fight begins, right here. This is what you should be talking about, the Laken Riley Act, making sure it goes down in flames. Call your Democratic senator and make sure they kill this bill. Are Democrats going to block Republicans from giving ICE more power, especially when ICE should be abolished? This is important to stop the persecution of undocumented Americans before it begins. And any Democrat who votes for this bill should be primaried. And I'm talking about you, Democratic Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, who now says he supports this. Let's make it bad politics. Get on your phone, start writing letters, and tell your Democratic senator to kill the Laken Riley bill. More on this story after we see how the procedural vote plays out on Friday. This is what's important. Not buying Greenland, not renaming it the Gulf of America, not making Canada the 51st state. This is what you need to focus on. You're looking at the House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Brian Mast. He's a Republican from Florida, and he signaled this week that the second bill to be passed in the Republican-controlled House of Representatives will be Texas Congressman Chip Roy's the Illegitimate Court Counteraction Act, which will probably be out of committee later today and ready to be voted on tomorrow. This is important. It needs to be stopped. If passed, it would impose economic sanctions on members of the International Criminal Court for issuing an arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over alleged war crimes committed against the Palestinians in Gaza. Now, America and Israel are not signatories to the International Criminal Court, because if we were, our presidents would all be frog-marched into The Hague and locked up for the rest of their lives. This is another bill no Democrat should be voting for. We should be joining the International Criminal Court, not sanctioning it. By the way, again, not as much fun as buying Greenland, invading Panama, changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of Trump or whatever he's talking about, or making Canada our 51st state. This is how you stop fascism, by blocking Chip Roy's bill. Call your Congress people and tell them to vote no against Chip Roy's illegitimate Court Counteraction Act, and tell them to introduce legislation so that America joins the world community and becomes a signatory to the International Criminal Court. And then maybe we'll sign on to the landmine treaty instead of planting them right now in Ukraine. That's what President Biden signed on to, planting landmines in Ukraine. Yesterday, whoa, what just happened? All right, it's starting. Am I still on? Is anybody still here? Here we go. Okay. Yesterday, Donald Trump warned Hamas that all hell will break loose if they don't release the Israeli hostages held in Gaza, because that's precisely how to bring Hamas to its knees, by threatening that all hell will break loose, by saying we're going to give it everything we've got. That's how you're going to convince Hamas to release the hostages. Because, I mean, look at Gaza. Have you seen Gaza lately? You know, if only Benjamin Netanyahu didn't have to fight Hamas with one arm tied around his back. Whenever I look at Gaza, I'm saying, if only Netanyahu could fight this war on his terms. I'm being sarcastic. In case you haven't been following the story, in Gaza, all hell has already broken loose. It doesn't work. But Donald Trump, you know what really scares people? When you threaten fire and fury. When you threaten the fire and fury that nobody has ever seen before, like the way Trump did during his first term with North Korea. He said, don't do it, North Korea, don't test another missile. And they called his bluff, and there was no fire and fury. You see, tough talk sounds really good, but it makes you sound weak. It really does when you don't or can't follow through. You might remember when Trump was president, again, he said to North Korea, test a rocket on my watch. You will see fire and fury the world has never seen before. And they tested a rocket, and what did Trump do? He went to North Korea and began writing what he called love letters to Kim Jong-un, or as he calls him now affectionately, Rocket Man. Tough talk. It feels good. Outgoing Secretary of State Anthony Blinken was in South Korea on Monday, so North Korea welcomed him by testing another ballistic weapon. It's amazing. It really is amazing. People are starving in North Korea, but somehow that country has the money for missiles. They have the money to send ammunition and troops to assist Putin's war in Ukraine, but no money to feed the North Koreans. You know, I guess Trump's right. Americans do have a lot more in common with Kim Jong-un than we realize. Yesterday, not making this up, Kim Jong-un this is true. Kim Jong-un outlawed hot dogs in North Korea. You can be hanged for treason if you're seen eating a hot dog in North Korea because he calls it American food. Trump responded by outlawing Big Macs, calling it treasonous for Americans to eat them when their soon-to-be president lives in fear of McDonald's running out of them. Under Trump's new rule, it's going to be illegal for anyone to buy a Big Mac unless Trump can be guaranteed that our nation's strategic Big Mac reserve is at 90%. That's not true. The thing about the hot dogs being banned in North Korea, that's true. This is true. Judge Eileen Cannon, a Trump appointee, temporarily blocked the release of outgoing Special Prosecutor Jack Smith's report on his investigations into Trump's mishandling of classified material, which resulted in a grand jury bringing 40 felony counts against Trump, and a report on Trump's role instigating January 6, which resulted in even more indictments. Cannon was the presiding judge in the classified documents case, which she tossed out last year, ruling that the role of special counsel is unconstitutional. Special counsel Jack Smith was going to appeal her decision, but after Trump won, he quit. He just shut down the office. He should have made Donald Trump fire him, but he quit. He has prepared, however, a 2-volume report that Cannon ordered sealed. It's going to be like the Jack Smith report about the crimes Donald Trump was indicted for. He's going to appeal the ruling to release these reports. Trump's lawyers want the reports permanently sealed because they argue there's no way for Trump to rebut the allegations. There's no way to rebut the allegations in the Jack Smith report. Hey, I have an idea. How about you go to trial? Donald Trump is willing to do anything, spend ungodly amounts of money to prove his innocence, so long as he never has to go to trial or testify under oath. Short of that, he will stop at nothing to clear his name, like threaten judges, jurors, witnesses. Judge Juan Merchan, who presided over the New York trial where Trump was found guilty of hiding hush money to a porn star, Judge Juan Merchan said he would issue his sentence this Friday. Lawyers for Trump filed a last-minute motion for Merchan to delay sentencing until they can appeal the jury's verdict. He rejected their motion on Monday. On Tuesday, an appeals court also rejected the motion. Merchan says he's not going to send Trump to prison, will most likely issue what is called an unconditional discharge, where the court acknowledges that a jury found Trump guilty, but there will be no other punishment. No other punishment than becoming the first president ever to take office as a convicted felon. According to Politico, Trump will return to the White House with eight January 6 related civil lawsuits hanging over his head. And as I keep reminding you, these civil lawsuits theoretically can proceed while he's in the Oval Office. 10 Democratic members of the House of Representatives are suing Trump for civil damages over the role he played in inciting January 6. Trump's lawyers this week were in D.C. arguing that presidents and ex-presidents can't be sued in civil court for any damages inflicted while they were president. So you can sue a sitting president for anything he did before or after he was president. You can sue an ex-president in a civil court for anything he did before or after he was president. You can't sue him in civil court for pretty much anything he did as president. So I think Trump's lawyers, what do I know? I think Trump's lawyers might have a strong case. I hope I'm wrong. I think they might have a strong case insisting that, and I'm not being sarcastic, I think they can argue that inciting the insurrection on January 6 would fall under the penumbra of official acts as president, and he can't be sued. We'll see. Let's remember, the new Solicitor General argued for Trump before the Supreme Court that a ex-president cannot be put on trial for ordering SEAL Team 6 to kill his political opponents. And we'll see. We'll see. On Monday, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, both Democrats, they held a ceremony to honor the tragic events of January 6. Not the tragic events of January 6, 2025. That's a whole other horrible event. I'm talking about the tragic events of January 6, 2021. Conspicuously absent, the entire Republican leadership. They couldn't even bring themselves to show up for a memorial for the lives lost, the damages on January 6. This is J.D. Vance getting corrected during the vice presidential debate. CBS corrected him for spewing racist lies. I think it was Nora O'Donnell. Corrected him for spewing racist lies about Haitian immigrants.
Thank you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank you.
Margaret, the rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check.
The rules stated no fact checking. So it was biased for CBS News to interject truth into the proceedings. J.D. Vance later admitted, yeah, I lied about those Haitian immigrants, but this is what he said. He said it was necessary to lie about the Haitian immigrants to make a much larger point. And that much larger point is J.D. Vance is a racist. He's a racist. No fact checking. How dare you fact check me? And now, Facebook's parent company, Meta, announced on Monday, no more fact-checking. So feel free to claim anything you want about stolen elections or how dangerous vaccines are. Take to Facebook. You can spread all the lies you want because we have a new president, and Zuckerberg thinks people should have the choice to believe whatever they want to believe. The New York Times reports that a study showed that after Facebook hired third-party fact-checkers, the number of users believing lies that were being spread on Facebook, the number dropped by almost 30%. When there was a little correction underneath the post, the number of users believing false information dropped 30%, and the number of lies shared on Facebook dropped by 25%. But now we can go back to just spreading lies with abandon. Mark Zuckerberg also announced that he's appointing Trump's best friend, Dana White, to sit on Meta's board of directors because who better to elevate discourse and dial back threats of physical violence on social media than the guy who gave us ultimate fighting. Zuckerberg also announced he made a personal donation of $1 million to Donald Trump's inaugural committee, which is basically what the Trump family is living off. But he found another loophole. The inaugural committee, you can just raise as much money as you want with abandon, and nobody knows. Well, we do know where it goes. We know. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, just donated $1 million in cash to Trump's inaugural committee. His Washington Post yesterday laid off 4% of its workforce, but somehow Bezos has $1 million in cash to give to Donald Trump. You might remember back in, December 19th, Bezos flew down to Mar-a-Lago to have dinner with Trump. Delicious meal. This is a photo of their meal. This is an actual photo of Donald Trump and Jeff Bezos having a quiet meal at Mar-a-Lago of baked rat. But look at Jeff Bezos. Look at what a pig he is. He's so acquisitive. You can see his plate is full, but no, I want what Donald Trump is eating. I want everything. I got to have everything because I'm a piggy, Jeff Bezos. On my last show, I told you Melania Trump and Donald Trump authorized disgraced director Brett Ratner to film a documentary about Melania's accomplishments. And no, it's not a short. I reminded you that Brett Ratner was driven out of Hollywood back in 2017 after practically every woman who ever came in contact with him Me Too'd him. Headline from The Guardian, Brett Ratner accused of rape in most serious allegation yet against filmmaker. He sued the woman for defamation, but then for some reason dropped the lawsuit. So why did Donald Trump authorize Ratner to be the director? Well, it turns out Brett Ratner and Donald Trump go all the way back to when Ratner was a kid, starting out, picking up rent money, working as a Ghislaine Maxwell lookalike. I can't tell the difference, can you? He looks just like a Ghislaine Maxwell lookalike. Great people. Really good people in that picture. Really good. Now it's being reported that Jeff Bezos' Amazon is paying the Trumps $40 million for the privilege of streaming the Melania documentary directed by Brett Ratner. They're going to pay $40 million for the right to stream it on Amazon Prime. Now, in all fairness, this is a licensing fee. The Trumps don't get to keep all $40 million. They have to, spend money to make the documentary. So they'll get to keep all $40 million. Trump, as you probably know by now, held a press conference yesterday at Mar-a-Lago. Trump told reporters he might take the Panama Canal by force. Apparently, he thinks it's a woman. Asked if he was going to pardon the people who stormed the Capitol, Trump said maybe, but then added that Hezbollah was probably behind January 6. I'm being serious. He said he has reason to believe Hezbollah instigated January 6. Then he said the Gulf of Mexico should now be called the Gulf of America. Why not call it Gulf of America? You love golf. Hey, wait a second. The press conference was held at Mar-a-Lago, which in French means from the sea to the lake. From the sea to, does that sound familiar? From the sea to, that sounds like from the river to the sea. Forget Hezbollah. I'm starting to think Trump was behind January 6. Marjorie Taylor Greene, seen here talking to a reporter from Newsmax, announced right after the press conference that she is introducing a bill to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, not the Gulf of Trump. She exhibited such restraint. I'm not making this up. After the press conference, she tweeted, President Donald Trump's second term is off to a great start, and I will be introducing legislation ASAP to officially change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to its rightful name, the Gulf of America. Yeah, you see, the problem with the Gulf of Mexico, Marjorie, isn't the name. The problem with the Gulf of Mexico is the heat. The waters are too warm, and it's making the hurricanes more deadly. Now, I know Marjorie thinks Joe Biden is creating these hurricanes, but he's not. The oil companies are. But this is what you do when you're paid by the oil companies to come to D.C. and distract. Right? Here's a better idea. Keep calling it the Gulf of Mexico so you can start blaming hurricanes on the Mexicans. I should be working for the Republicans. Trump yesterday promised to ban windmills, calling them an eyesore in the middle of the ocean, as opposed to oil derricks, which are more like a Christmas Yule log. Right now, much of America is getting slammed by a polar vortex, bringing more snow than we've seen in decades. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, the Pacific Palisades are engulfed in a wall of flames. Homes burnt to the ground, residents fleeing. Santa Ana winds coming in at 100 miles per hour. These are the heaviest winds ever recorded in Southern California. Climate change is at the tipping point. We know this, and it's because of the oil companies. This is all because of the oil companies who helped put Donald Trump in office again. And it's why all Trump could talk about yesterday during his press conference was buying Greenland. Don Jr. flew into Greenland yesterday with Turning Point's USA racist Charlie Kirk and the new head of White House personnel, Sergio Gore. That's Sergio Gore on the left. They flew into Greenland yesterday. Trump said, the father said of the trip, Greenland is an incredible place and the people will benefit tremendously if and when it becomes part of our nation. We will protect it and cherish it. You know, like all three of my wives. Make Greenland great again, unquote. So you got Sergio Gore, the new head of White House personnel, flying off to Greenland with Don Jr. But this is the administration that's going to eliminate government waste. Good. Here in New York, Rosanna Scotto hosts the local morning show on Fox. We love her here in New York. She's so smart. And occasionally she gets to show off just how smart she really is. Nationally, Fox gives her national exposure occasionally when they let her fill in for Judge Jeanine on Fox News' hit show, The Five.
Yeah, what I love about this whole situation, Trump could just bring something up and say, well, let's just see what happens. You know, can we buy this? How much does that cost? And people laugh, but then you go, wait a minute, it's actually happening.
Well, it actually is not the first time this has happened. They're calling the president-elect bananas and crazy for coming up with this idea. But by the way, this is not the first time that America's tried to buy Greenland. Back in 1867, Democratic President Harry Truman tried to buy Greenland for $100 million, which would be about a bill in our day and age, $1 billion. Didn't happen. Obviously, still very important. And as you mentioned, Jesse, has a lot of minerals. Very important for our country. I think the president may be onto something.
Yeah, what I love about this whole situation, Trump could just bring something up and say, well, let's just see what happens. You know.
So wise. She's so wise. Apparently, there was a Democratic president named Harry Truman, I think that's his name, and in 1867, there's a picture of Harry Truman making a radio address. I guess it was back in 1867 when, okay, in all fairness, Harry Truman, he was the president after Roosevelt died in, let me see if I get this right. I believe Roosevelt died in 1945 or 1944. I have a mental block on this. I'm going to go with I'm going to say 1945. See, I'm making fun of God's punishing me. In all fairness, Truman did secretly try to buy Greenland, but not in 1867 and not in 1967. It was in 1946. I mean, sometimes I say 1846 when I mean to say 1946. I do that because I'm nervous. But I don't know how she got from 1946 to 1867. What's great is nobody corrected her. And I'm telling you, a few more mistakes like that, Rosanna, and you'll be replacing Laura Ingraham. I think you make some statements like that, some more, you got yourself a spot on Fox News. Come on, I should know when Franklin Roosevelt died. He was elected in 1944 for a fourth term. So he had to have died in 1945, in like the spring of 1945, like a month or two before Hitler died. I think. I don't know. Anyway, so what is this about? What is Greenland really about? Climate catastrophe. It's what's going on in the Pacific Palisades right now. It's the polar vortex. And instead of Trump or Fox News or Republicans saying, hey, you know what? We got to get off fossil fuels. We're destroying the planet. They're looking at Greenland and saying, what a great opportunity. Because of climate catastrophe, because we're destroying the planet, Greenland has become prime real estate. The New York Times reports in the past 30 years, the ice sheets that were covering Greenland, there were ice sheets the size of the state of Massachusetts covering Greenland, completely melted. And that makes it much easier to drill for more oil, as well as essential minerals like copper, lithium, nickel, and cobalt. See, buying Greenland, it's all about embracing climate change. And Trump's so stupid, he thinks, he looks at the globe and he says, wait, if the polar ice caps melt, it's going to, water flows down. We'd be up in Greenland, so the water would flow down past us. He's so stupid. This is about embracing climate change, seeing it as a financial opportunity. You might remember on the last show I told you that the Prime Minister of Greenland announced on New Year's Day he wants to secede from Denmark. Denmark remains the colonial power ruling over Greenland. We would have to buy Greenland from Denmark, but the Danish Prime Minister said yesterday Trump can't buy Greenland. That's what the Danish Prime Minister said after Trump's communications director, Stephen Chung, was told about the Danish Prime Minister. Chung said, I hate the Danish. I prefer the bear claws. Got to agree with Stephen Chung on that one. My thoughts are with Kamala Harris. She has a house I think it's in Brentwood, and I don't know what's going on right now over there, but my thoughts are with her. And she made good on a campaign promise without having to win the presidency. Yesterday, she said she was going to do this. If she got elected, she's doing it. Biden let her make the announcement. She unveiled a major blow. This is serious. She unveiled a major blow to the for-profit healthcare industry. This is really huge. This is major. According to a new ruling coming down from the Financial Consumer Protection Agency, medical debt can no longer be factored into your credit score. Now, Trump can try to change this with the stroke of a pen, but let him try. This is huge. Medical debt can no longer be factored into your credit score. We have this in New York State. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Medical debt destroys your credit score, which means forget buying a house. Nobody can buy a house. You need an auto loan. You need a credit card. If you've got medical debt and that means you got bad credit, you can't get a credit card. This is huge, and I think it's going to be transformative. Say you have like a $20,000 bill for a flu shot from your doctor. You think I'm joking? So you get a bill in the mail from hospital, health insurance company. You owe them $20,000. It goes into collections, and you don't have $20,000. Goes into collections, and your credit score goes down. In New York, and now, thanks to the Biden administration across America, there's nothing they can do. The bill collectors can call you, but there are laws regarding what bill collectors can actually do, which is pretty much nothing. And the one thing they had was they could ruin your credit score. Not anymore. Not anymore. Which means you can owe that hospital hundreds of thousands of dollars for that aspirin. And now you can qualify for a home loan or a car loan. We're all going to be on the honor system. That's how it works in New York State. The honor system when it comes to paying off medical debt. Medical debt is the number one cause of bankruptcy in America. People try to pay off their medical debt because, like I said, without credit, with a horrible credit score, you can't live in America. You can't live in this country without a credit card. Forget buying a house or a car. You need to get a credit card. You got medical debt, you're going bankrupt. So there are going to be some very serious ramifications here when people don't have to pay off their medical debt. Of course, they should. I mean, it's the honor system. Haven't the health insurance companies and the hospitals and doctors been honorable with you? Charging $2 million for a COVID shot? So let's maintain our honor. Please do the honorable thing when it comes time to paying the doctor bill, the hospital bill, the health insurance companies. It doesn't matter that, I mean, theoretically, with this law, this rule won't affect your credit score. You can really just tell the bill collector to go F themselves. But is that the honorable thing to do? By the time you hear this, the Biden Food and Drug Administration might have already ordered cigarette companies to lower their nicotine content to make their products less addictive. They manipulate nicotine to get you hooked. It is estimated that by lowering nicotine levels, nearly 40 million fewer Americans would become regular smokers. We don't want that. We don't want that. We want the FDA staying out of our lungs. This portion of the David Feldman Show is brought to you by Dr. Feldman's Smoker's Tooth Polish for Kids. You know, look at poor little Benji here. He's 4 years old, 2 packs a day. Look at him. Look at the before picture. Look at his teeth. They were yellow and stained, and all the kids at the nursery school didn't want to be around him. But after 1 week of Dr. Feldman's Smoker's Tooth Polish for Kids, now everyone wants to be around Benji. That's Dr. Feldman's Smoker's Tooth Polish for Kids. It's ethically sourced, 100% natural, organic. It is gentle for a child, but strong enough for mom. Please this one of my sponsors. I hope you'll go buy the ethically sourced Dr. Feldman's Smoker's Tooth Polish for kids. This is the mop-up for January 8th, 2025. It is my father's birthday today. Let's see. Now, if he were still alive, he would be in prison. Yeah, I'm pretty sure by now they would have found him. It's also Elvis's birthday, as well as Soupy Sales's birthday. I know that because my father shared a birthday with the king. It is January 8th. Trump takes over in 12 days. I was thinking, what if this Trump thing turns out to be Y2K? Remember Y2K? We were told, there's a new movie out about Y2K. We were told our entire digital infrastructure wasn't equipped to handle the change to the year 2000 because the number 2000 had not been factored into the software. Do you remember this? We were told the entire internet, all our electricity would come to a grinding halt. And then what happened? 2000 came and went. Nothing changed. What if Trump is Y2K? What if we don't become Nazi Germany? What if, and I'm just hypothesizing here, what if Donald Trump is too stupid to be Hitler? What then? I'll tell you, there are going to be a lot of pissed off left-wing con artists with podcasts, but enough about me. Some very sad news this morning. France's godfather of the far right, Jean-Marie Le Pen, dead at 96. This is very sad. The man, a world-class Islamophobe and Holocaust denier, a fascist whose party, the National Front, was considered too fringe for mainstream politics until he handed it over to his daughter, Maureen, who changed the name of the party to the National Rally. And now a recent poll shows her to be the most popular politician in France. Jean-Marie Le Pen, dead at 96. Sad. It's looking like Austria, the birthplace of Adolf Hitler, will be getting its first extreme right-wing government since World War II. The Freedom Party, that's the name of the party that's taking over. They hate Muslims, love Vladimir Putin, want to leave the EU, won nearly 30% of the vote in September, and has been asked to form a government. All it takes is 30%. You don't need a majority. After nearly a decade in office, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has quit. Trudeau suspended Parliament until March 21st in order to give his Liberal Party time to pick a new leader. In stepping down, Trudeau cited party infighting as the chief reason. He also said Trump's threat of massive tariffs became a chief concern, and that members of the Liberal Party still can't agree on how to address Trump. Trudeau visited Trump at Mar-a-Lago on November 29th, thinking he could get Trump to back off on the tariffs. But instead, Trump said Canada should become America's 51st state. And I know Canadians would jump at the opportunity to become America's 51st state. You know why? Our healthcare system. Envy of the world. I'm David Feldman, reminding you to stay strong and protect the weak. I have a lot of friends and family living in Los Angeles, and I hope you're okay. And remember, this is the fault of the oil companies. all of this, the snow, the oil companies. Thank you to Mila. I hope Mila's okay. She lives out there. Mila in the chat room. Thank you to Bob in the chat room. Leave a comment. I read all your comments. I'm positive now that Roosevelt died in 1945 because he was reelected in 44. So you don't have to correct me on that one unless I'm pulling a Rosanna Scotto. Write your members of Congress to make sure that your senators, Laken Riley Act, make sure the Democrats do not vote for it, and do not vote. Call your senator and your member of Congress. Do not let the House pass this bill that's going to be voted on Thursday, sanctioning members of the ICC for issuing an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu. We should be joining the ICC, not imposing economic sanctions on the ICC for issuing an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu. So if you're upset by what's going on, when you turn on the TV and look at what's happening in Gaza, call your Congress member and say, do not vote for Chip Roy's bill, which would call for economic sanctions against members of the ICC. And it's already passed in the House, so call your senator and say, do not vote in favor of the Laken Riley Act. It's garbage. It's garbage. This is how you prevent confusion and lack of focus. There's stuff that's important, and then there's the stuff Donald Trump says. Don't pay attention to what he says. Pay attention to what the people in charge of him do. Please like this episode. Please share it. Brush your teeth. Take a shower. No show tomorrow. I wrote an entirely other show today, and I said I can't do it. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm not doing a show tomorrow. I don't know when my next show is. It's either going to be early Friday morning or early Saturday morning. I don't know. But there was a lot of news today. Thank you so much for listening to this garbage.